Hoy te voy a compartir un secreto para verte y sentirte más joven, así que quédate a ver este video. Hola, bienvenidos a Dulce Dagda Fit. Me da mucho gusto saludarte y tenerte por aquí. Si no te has suscrito, suscríbete porque aquí encuentras todo sobre estilo de vida saludable. Yo soy Nutrition Coach y sí es un hecho que todos queremos vernos, sentirnos más jóvenes, tener la piel más bonita, tener menos arrugas. Y estamos buscando por todas partes cremas, tratamientos, cosas que hacernos superficialmente para vernos mucho mejor. Se nos olvida que tener salud y tener juventud es lo mismo. Podemos ser jóvenes toda nuestra vida, así como se escucha, así lleguemos a los 80 o 100 años, libre de dolor, libre de enfermedades y bueno, pues la parte de las arrugas es inevitable, pero con la menor cantidad de arrugas posible. Te cuento que le realicé una entrevista a Don Moxley, quien es director de Ciencias Aplicadas y Desarrollo de Marca en Longevity Labs. Ellos desarrollaron un suplemento que se llama Spermidine Life. Ahorita te voy a contar todo esto de la espermidina. Platicamos sobre una molécula que se llama espermidina. Es una molécula súper importante. En cada una de nuestras células existe la espermidina, pero conforme vamos envejeciendo se va perdiendo. Por lo tanto, vienen enfermedades, muchas arrugas, muchos problemas, dolor en las articulaciones y todos los problemas que son propios de la vejez. En muchas ocasiones cuando hablamos de vejez nos estamos refiriendo ya a años avanzados, ¿no? Arriba de 65 años, pero muchos de estos problemas, cuando empezamos a perder espermidina a la edad de veintitantos años, también podemos comenzar a tener estos problemas propios de una edad muy avanzada. Moxley comenzó a interesarse mucho en el mundo de la espermidina. Él estaba antes en la industria del cannabis porque estaba en la Universidad de Ohio trabajando, investigando diferentes formas de recuperación y mejora del cuerpo, y de repente se encontró con el mundo de la espermidina y dijo, de aquí soy.
Pleasure to having you here. Actually, I was reading about your biography, everything that you have done, and it's pretty impressive how you ended up in the spermidine world after being explored into the health athlete world, especially working in academics at Ohio University. It's pretty interesting how you got into that path.
When I was working, listen, I'm an exercise physiologist by training. That's where I spent most of my time. And the elite athlete work really got me drilled in on understanding recovery. And when you start looking at recovery, I wound up leaving Ohio State to go work in the cannabis industry. This was more about me making the decision that I could fulfill my personal mission, starting to look at a cellular level and looking at an organism level. It was from cannabis that I had the invitation to take a look at this crazy molecule, crazy named molecule, Spermidine.
Durante muchos años he investigado las zonas azules, que son 5 en el mundo, donde la gente tiende a vivir 100 años, donde se encuentran la mayor cantidad de centenarios en el mundo. Yo los estudio mucho porque yo trabajo con adultos mayores, y estas personas resulta que tienen la misma cantidad de espermidina o similar a la de las personas de 30 años.
In this company, we work with elderly people over 65 years old and up to 100, because I have people almost 100, 102 years old.
Wow, that's great.
It's amazing. So I was reading that people that comes from the blue zones and that they have higher spermidine levels.
That's correct. And we've known about the molecule spermidine for hundreds of years. We just haven't really known what its role is in biology in our lives. Starting in the late 1980s, they started looking at spermidine in cancer research. They started to see this molecule pop up. And then later on, in the early 2000s, we started to see, well, wait a minute, it was the discovery of the processes of autophagy were critical in this. And these are processes that we really saw happen 2010 through 2018. This is when we start to see, oh, well, spermidine, this is the pathway that it's influencing in our cells. So Dr. Frank Medeo from the University of Graz in Austria did research starting back in 2016 looking at spermidine in senescent cells. So what we're starting to understand is that a lot of cellular senescence is coming from a lack of autophagy. And that's where that cleaning process comes from. Well, we now live in a time where we have food available all the time, morning to night, and we're starting to see the impact of this. It's not just, the problem with too much food and not enough exercise isn't that you'll get fat. It's that your cells are not going through this cleaning process and optimizing and reproducing in a manner that's optimal to our evolution.
La espermidina depende muchísimo algo que se llama autofagia y el reciclamiento de unas células que se llaman senescentes o células zombie, para ser más claros. Los tenemos en el cuerpo, pero en algunas personas se van y en otras se quedan, y esas causan enfermedades como cáncer.
So these are cells that have kind of gone zombie. They're not growing anymore. They're throwing off inflammatory markers and inflammatory pieces. Dr. Medeo found that when you treated senescent cells with spermidine, these cells became healthy again.
So from my understanding, is senescence, it's those cells that don't want to die and they go contagious other cells.
That's a good explanation. Yeah. And again, thank you for Dr. Medeo figuring out that spermidine was this important molecule, this important nutrient, so that we can pay attention to what the level is in the diet, and we can supplement it just like you supplement a vitamin C or a vitamin B3.
Okay, so spermidine, along with other ways, it's another way to perform or to activate autophagy.
Absolutely.
También le pregunté algo que me pareció muy chistoso, de dónde viene el término espermidina o spermidine, porque me suena como a esperma, en donde se observó.
Now, listen, you got to ask Anton van Leeuwenhoek that question. You know, he's a freak, I guess. You know, I mean, you know, this is the first person to have a microscope. He was Anton van Leeuwenhoek was a woven goods salesman. He sold textiles, and they invented the microscope so they could do fiber counts on some of these elite silk products. And he's the first person to really start to look at microbiology and how his semen wound up underneath the microscope. That's him. Okay. As we started, so that's that, you know, and we did. He described the structure in semen. It didn't get named for another 200 years. Another group of Dutch scientists actually put the name on it. And they just called it, I guess they called it spermidine because it was in semen with sperm. It was another part there. We know it's very dense in mother's milk, early milk in the colostrum phase of mother's milk. So anytime that you have a heavy DNA process going on, DNA replication, duplication, you tend to see a lot of spermidine there. Helps.
Una de las formas de aumentar la expectativa de vida y por supuesto la calidad de vida es a través de la autofagia, que ya he platicado antes de ese término. Hay varias formas de activar la autofagia, como a través de la restricción calórica, el ayuno, ayuno intermitente, ayunos prolongados, mímica de ayuno, el ejercicio y una dieta alta en alimentos que son ricos en espermidina. Sin embargo, son muy difíciles de conseguir.
If you do not have a spermidine-rich diet like they have in blue zones, the efficiency of fasting will decline as spermidine levels decline. Autophagy is present in our cells all the time. The question is it upregulated or downregulated? It's how much autophagy, but there's always a little bit. But even that little bit declines if there's not spermidine in the cell. So it's one of those key molecules that has to be there to trigger and go through, whether you're fasting or fasting mimicking, or anytime you're doing calorie restriction or exercise, you're going to be triggering this autophagy pathway. Well, as spermidine levels increase, the quality of autophagy increases.
Espermidina que ellos producen en el Spermidine Life, que es su suplemento, viene directamente del germen de trigo, lo cual me intrigó un poco porque hay muchísimas personas que son sensibles a gluten o son celíacas, pero dice que no hay ningún problema.
Found that the wheat that we can harvest in Central Europe, so Central Europe, the European Union has a lot of different rules about how agriculture works compared to North America. We just happen to be able to find a lot of spermidine-rich wheat, which we get out of the wheat germ. We get the wheat germ from their wheat.
It's not easy to get enough spermidine if we eat the wheat germ.
No, what we're finding is that wheat germ is not all the same when it comes to spermidine. It may be all the same on fats and proteins and things like that, but there's a wide variety of spermidine content. So we have to spend a lot of time and do a lot of testing to make sure we're starting our concentration process using spermidine-rich wheat.
I know more people from North America, people who are more Caucasians, because we Latinos, we don't eat too much wheat compared to other countries in the world. We eat more corn.
Right.
And their celiac disease is not that common, but still, we still have a little bit of celiac disease. But some people could be a little bit concerned about taking spermidine because it comes from wheat.
Exactly. The Celiac Association said someone with celiac should keep their gluten content below 10 to 50 milligrams per day. We have 1.3 milligrams.
It's nothing.
So now listen, my wife has celiacs, and I anyone that has to deal with that, I feel sorry. I've held her hair back way too many times. We recommend that if you are celiac or if you are very gluten sensitive, be careful starting this. Start with a very, very small dose if you want to try it.
Ahora, yo le conté que he visto muchos resultados en mí misma.
What I can tell you is that my hair, my nails, but most important, and I know that you guys have research or your guys are developing a research on sleeping. My sleeping is amazing.
Aren't the dreams the best?
Yeah, it's just amazing. I just started getting 1 month ago, and after 1 week taking spermidine, I'm sleeping 7.5 hours every single night.
Good.
And not waking up during the night. I used to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning every single night, and now I'm not waking up at all.
Good.
And I'm waking up super restful with a lot of energy in my hair. I mean, maybe you don't care about hair because you're a man, but look at my hair.
I keep it pretty tight.
It was like here. And
Oh,
now,
really?
Yeah. It's super healthy.
5 big elements that come with increased spermidine supplementation, and one of which, so autophagy is one of those. But the other one is improved what's called epithelial stem cells. So your epithelial cells are the cells that make your skin and eventually become your nails and eventually become your hair. So we know that increased spermidine content increases hair growth, follicle replacement. But this is the thing I think when people will notice, you'll know it's working, is that about 3 weeks in, your fingernails just go bananas. And your clip, because I don't do my nails, right? It's not like my wife and daughter. They've got the nail game down, not me. But they just start growing like crazy. So yeah, that's how you really, it's that upregulation, which also will carry over into gut health. So your epithelial cells also are the cells that make the lining of your gut. So not a bad place to be there too. But yeah, we actually have a study going on right now that we expect to publish this summer, looking at spermidine supplementation and sleep.
Lo que sí es que no podemos depender 100% de un suplemento y pensar que existe una pastilla mágica y que con eso podemos llevar el estilo de vida que queramos y podemos comer como sea, sino que se trata de un complemento y que tenemos que poner de nuestra parte en diferentes áreas de nuestra vida. Sin embargo, esto sí que nos va a ayudar.
And if there's one thing everyone can do to improve their health, it's increase autophagy in their cells. It decreases inflammation. There's so many benefits that come with that. So intermittent fasting or fasting is a good thing to do. Exercise is an important thing to do, not to lose weight, but to increase autophagy and lower your inflammatory response. And if you include spermidine with that, well, that helps.
Ahora también le pregunté de cómo tomar la espermidina, en qué momento del día.
How is the best way to get spermidine, to take it at night, in the morning?
It doesn't make a difference. The half-life of the molecule is very long. What we recommend is you take it with a meal.
With a meal, okay.
And if you're fasting, if you're getting ready to do a long fast, take it with the last meal. If you're going to be fasting more than a day, increase your dose at that last meal.
Thank you so much, Don. This was amazing, super enlightening for me and for my audience.
If you ever need something, Dulce, let me know. This is what I do.
I will definitely. Yeah.
If you ever get up to Ohio, you have to come over and we'll spend some time in the sauna behind me or in my workout facility next to me.
Como ven en la entrevista, yo he visto muchos resultados en mí, me ha crecido mucho el pelo, las uñas no se me están quebrando porque yo tiendo a que se me quiebren mucho. Llevo un mes tomándolo y sí he visto resultados en mi piel. La gente que tiene problemas de piel yo creo que es un gran suplemento, pero más allá de eso, porque la piel es el último órgano que el cuerpo se preocupa, el cuerpo se está preocupando primero adentro y hasta el final deja la piel. Lo recomiendo, te dejo un descuento que me dieron para mi audiencia. Es un suplemento que definitivamente yo voy a seguir consumiendo en mi día a día. Mis papás se los recomendé, mi papá lo está tomando y ha visto resultados, por ejemplo, en el crecimiento del pelo. Él se le estaba cayendo mucho el pelo y ahora le ha detenido la caída. La rosácea yo la tengo súper controlada con la espermidina. Les digo que el pelo me ha crecido, vean, muchísimo. Duermo perfectamente y cuando tienes un sueño reparador, entonces eso se va a notar en el resto de tu salud. Dejo aquí abajo la información para que si tú quieres leer más, investigar más sobre el tema, sí te lo recomiendo. Para que me puedes contratar como tu coach nutricional si así lo deseas, te dejo la información en dulcedagda.com y puedes concertar una cita de 15 minutos conmigo y nos vemos en el próximo video. Déjame saber aquí en los comentarios qué opinas sobre la espermidina. ¿Te llamó la atención o no? Nos vemos, bye.